Dua,
Mm,
thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
my pleasure.
Do you want to introduce yourself and
Yeah,
maybe
sure.
talk about, I don't know, your adventure getting all the way to Australia and how we met and everything? Just give us the story.
Okay. My name is Duaa, and I am Jordanian. I used to live in Jordan just for the last week. I'm married with two children. I used to work, and I'm an engineer. I decided to immigrate to Australia in 2016 in December. And since then, my journey with Aussie English started. I was searching the net, looking for a way to get introduced to the Australian accent, the Australian vocabulary basically used in Australia, when the first thing that came up to me was Aussie English website. I immediately subscribed and signed in, and then I met Pete. Gradually, I started to be a regular listener to the podcast, and I wrote down many of the notes and tips and the new vocabulary given by you, Pete. Those were really very helpful, especially the pun jokes you gave. You gave us a lot of changing the mood listening to the pods. And the general information you provided about Australia gave us the atmosphere of how to be prepared to live abroad. Um, my visa was granted last Feb,
Yep.
and
Congratulations again.
thank you.
I know how much of a battle it was.
Well, it was. It took longer than expected, but being an engineer and applying for a special type of visa that's for the skilled immigrants required a lot of applications, a lot of work, a lot of exams from my side. That's why it took longer than expected.
You persevered, though. You persevered, and look where you are. You've been here for a week, just recovering from all of the jet lag.
I'm glad I did it. Starting Feb, I started packing my stuff, preparing my papers to leave. I had to wait for my children to finish their schools. We passed through the holy month of Ramadan and what after that, the celebration of Eid. And my children finished their school in mid of June, opposite of what's happening here.
Yeah,
and
is that a weird situation to be in where they finish one
it
year
is.
and then they get here and
It
they're
is.
halfway through
They're
another?
going to repeat the second half of the year.
Okay.
They're upset. They are upset.
They were hoping that they could do 1 year in 6 months, did they?
They thought they were going to take a vacation for 6 months, but luckily their vacation is only 1 month.
Well, before we get too far into it, I should say that for you guys listening, I wanted to get Dua on today, and I only thought of this the other night, and Dua was kind enough to agree to it. But I thought when you were telling me you'd come to Australia, I thought it'd be great to have you on the podcast potentially multiple times to see how you go adapting to life in Australia, and maybe learn about what your thoughts were of the country before you sort of got to know it, and maybe how that changes over time. So, Firstly, what made you decide to come to Australia as opposed to Canada, America, New Zealand, anywhere else where they obviously speak English?
Well, after having a very long time in my career and looking ahead for the future of my children and basically their education, I wanted to give them another type of education that is given mainly in Europe and Australia.
Yeah.
I consulted some agencies back home in Jordan about the best location to migrate to, and they advised it is Australia, not to think about America, not Canada, not even New Zealand, because their papers required more qualifications than I have, especially for the money.
Is there more competition as well? Is that part of it where are there more people wanting to go to those countries too? So is there a lot more competition?
Not that type, but it is that those countries want people with a lot of money. They want investors to come, not people with regular amounts of money to work. They want investors, especially America. They want people with $500,000 in their bank account.
Really?
Yeah, $500,000 in their bank accounts to come as investors. I wanted the fastest way. I didn't want.
They're hoping those people will invest in the country and the government.
Some people can wait for 10 or 15 years. They apply for certain types of visas and they wait. I didn't want to wait. I wanted the fastest way. So the fastest way was to wait for 2.5 years, which is better.
Better.
And so I applied to Australia. I am the kind of person who had traveled to many locations in the world. I've been to Europe. I've been to many Arab countries. I know what happens outside. I'm good in English, and I spent many weeks away from home, but never actually worked away. Never lived the way people live.
So what are your expectations with regards to work and living outside of Jordan? And can you tell us what you thought before you got to Australia, I guess, because your opinions and views may have changed in the last week since you got here. But what were your thoughts before you set foot in Australia as to what it was like to work here and live here?
Well, I thought finding work was going to be difficult. But when I arrived here, people told me that it's not that difficult. I can apply. I can find work. I can find any work, not particular to my certificate. I can find any work that I can make a living out of. I thought that things were not going to be tough, but things are easy. People here are too friendly to be afraid of, especially in the airport. I thought I was going to be shocked by the Australian accent once I arrived, but everybody in the airport spoke slowly. Literally, they spoke slowly. Too slowly for me, but they were too friendly, too understanding to our situation, that we were too tired, and we were looking for the slightest help. They were too helpful, thank God, and things ran easier than expected. Another thing is that I wished that it was not too cold, but obviously we arrived in the middle of winter.
How was it back in Jordan? What was
It is mid of summer. July is mid of summer. It's up in 30s.
Yeah.
When we went out of the airport of Melbourne, we were like, oh, it's really cold.
Yeah.
We wanted to have something different, but this is nature. We're going to have to adapt to.
Wait till summer. It'll probably be
we'll be waiting.
Summer.
We're going to be celebrating Christmas for the first time in summer this year.
Oh, that's right, because that's
which
so
is something
for me,
weird for us, because Christmas is always white, it's always cold, but this year is going to be different.
Oh, crazy. And so what was it like finding somewhere to live? Did you have that all organized before you came to Australia?
Yeah, that was part of the preparation steps I had to take care of. I looked online for furnished houses and furnished units. Luckily, I found there are many applications on your mobile that you can use, and with one click you can find whatever you want. Luckily, I found a place. I communicated with the agent. She was very helpful. She advised where exactly I am, where the location is near the bus stop, near the schools I was looking for. And here I am in Thomastown, enjoying the scenes all around.
All right, so that was all done before you even got off the plane.
Yeah, it should be done, because you cannot find the thing when you are here. You need to find it when you are away, and book ahead. You have to book ahead. I think 2 months ahead.
And did you guys all come at once? There wasn't one of the family who came out first?
No, we came all at once. Wow, we're not that large family. I have my husband and 2 children.
Still,
and luckily they are
organized.
Not young.
You're pretty organized, obviously.
Yeah. Each one of us has his own task, has his own way of thinking. So we needed to cooperate with each other.
And so what have you done in terms of jobs? So you've obviously organized somewhere to live and had that organized. Did either of you have jobs organized before you got here, or did you have enough money saved up to get a house and now you worry about the jobs?
Well, my husband took care of this point. I had to quit because I worked with the private sector. They do not allow any, not paid vacations. We need to quit. So I had to quit. And I'm going to have to plan for a living now for myself. As for my husband, he worked with a different kind of organization where he agreed with them that he can work abroad, and they have given him a chance to do so. So we still have some kind of source of living. It's not that big, but it can be helpful in the couple of or 3 months ahead of time.
So what would have happened if he hadn't had that opportunity? Would you have still been able to move out here and then expected to just wait a few months until you found work? Or was it because of his job being able to do that led you to be able to come out here and get set up?
It was going to be a bit difficult. We were going to have to depend on our savings, because once you arrive, you find out that you need money to spend
Yes.
on your
Yeah.
food, on your commuting here and there. We don't have a car. We sold our car because we drive on the left. While in Australia, this is another challenge. People drive on the right.
Yeah. So
When
have
I
you?
arrived here, I told my husband, I wish I have taken my car with me here, shipped, but I can't. They drive on the right.
Well, you probably could have imported it, but it would have cost you an arm and a leg to
Yeah, of
pay to
course,
have it
but with
come
no
over.
use because it's on the
Yeah.
left.
Well, you can. I think you can. You can. There are people who have those
Really?
cars, but they're collector cars. So I think you can only
Oh,
use
okay.
them. You have to have a sign as well that says
Okay.
this car's
People,
steering
take
wheel's on the
care.
other
I'm
side.
different.
Yeah, exactly. So what's the plan to get used to driving here? Are you going to get lessons, or are you just going to wing it?
No, we need to get lessons. Maybe we're gonna call somebody to help. Maybe a friend who has a car to take a
Brilliant.
drive here and there. We have started taking care of the different signs here, the different ways of
Mm.
driving. It is completely the opposite. It
How
is
does that?
because
As in just the side of the road, or the
yeah,
rules
yeah,
as
the
well?
size of the and the rules, of course. Now, when you are driving and you want you want to turn left,
Hmm.
when we drive on the left, we turn to the right side of the road. While you drive, we take care of the left side of the road. When we want to get into the circle,
Yeah.
we take it from the right. You take it from the left.
Yeah, the roundabout, right? Yeah,
The
that's it.
roundabout. Yeah,
That
yeah.
that would confuse the hell out of me as
I
well, I
know
think.
it is. It is confusing, and it makes me feel like we have an accident, and I keep shutting my eyes.
Yeah, you just have to get on the bus and ride that around a bit and get you to sit up the front so that you've got a view out the front of the bus and you can be like, okay, I'm getting used to it.
I have a friend who lives here, and she took me in a drive once or twice since I arrived.
Hmm.
Um, she wanted me to take care of what she's doing, to notice everything. I tried, but it is difficult. It is difficult. I need to try it myself.
Oh, crazy. And so what have you done in terms of the kids and schooling? You were saying that they finished the year 6 months through the year, and obviously in
Yeah.
Australia we finish in December. So obviously you said they were repeating, but what did you do to find schools and organize that? Did you research that before you came to Australia?
Yeah, yeah. I searched for the schools the same time I searched for the house in parallel because I wanted to have schools of high rate. I
Hmm.
consulted some friends who lived here, and they told me exactly what to do. I even contacted the schools.
Oh, brilliant.
Um, yeah, the issue is that in Jordan and in Middle East in general, we start schools in August and we
Hmm.
finish in June or
Hmm.
early May. Here it's different. You start in Feb and you finish in December.
Yeah.
So we're now in the winter break, right?
Yeah.
We're in winter break now. My children are done with the years they
Hmm.
they were in. They're done with the exam. They're done with the final results. I contacted the schools and I told them what year my children were born, what year they finished. They said no problem. Just when we start school, that's on July 15th or 16th, pass by, bring your passports. We'll deal it out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Brilliant. So do you think they'll
Yeah.
probably have an edge, right? They'll have an advantage if they've already done an extra 6 months effectively and they have to start again at the end of this year for that, then they'll probably do a lot better than the other students, right?
Now you have two sides of this thing. The good side is that they have around 4 or 5 months of getting used to the system, getting
Yes.
used to the new situation they are put in, finding new friends,
Hmm.
adapting to the new school, to the ways to and from home. But the bad side is that they only had 1 month summer vacation, which is actually not summer because we're in winter. So they
Uh,
did not rest. They did not get the free time they were
yeah,
dreaming of.
because the holidays there would have gone for another month, right, until
Yeah, yeah.
August, and now they have to
From
go straight back.
June to late August even. Sometimes they decide to start at the beginning of September.
Yep. So can you tell me the ages of your children and their levels of English for listeners who have children as well and are thinking of coming to Australia? How old are your kids and what are their levels in English and what's the plan to go ahead now, getting them into school?
My older son is around 16,
Yep.
and the younger is 9. 16 makes him in a secondary school,
Hmm.
while the one of 9 is going to be introduced into the 4th grade.
Yep.
They are both very good in English because
Oh,
back
brilliant.
home they were in the international system, IGCSE. They are fluent in English, actually.
Oh, okay. So it's not going to be a big jump for them
It's
at
not
all.
going to
They're
be a
gonna
big jump.
They'll slide right in.
Except for the accent,
Hmm.
the new vocabulary they have to learn, maybe some new wording here or there.
Yeah.
And of course, it's the cultural move from a place where they were used to the type of materials, type of way of studying. I'm sure it is different here, because one of the things is that back home, they used to have to take their books to school.
Yeah.
Here, they don't carry books. They carry iPads or maybe
Oh,
laptops.
really? It's moved
It's
on since I
different,
was a
yeah.
kid.
Yeah.
I still had
It's
books. I'm not I'm not that young.
it's paperless here. It's paperless here, but there it
Wow.
is full of papers. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It's gonna be a move for me, because I'm used to receiving papers from school, signing, taking care of the things, having assignments for them, checking their homework. Now everything's gonna be done digitally, which is different for me.
That's crazy. So who do you think out of everyone in your family, who do you think is going to have the steepest learning curve, or the most trouble adapting to life in Australia?
Well, I think the fastest is going to be my younger children, my
Yeah.
younger child, because he's young.
He's going to
He
have an
adapts
Australian accent.
easily.
1 year.
Yeah.
I'll give you 1 year and he'll have an
No,
Australian accent.
even less, Pete, even less. The other day I was challenging him for some words. I asked him about the meaning of brolly. He said, I'm not sure what does that mean. And I told him it was umbrella. He said, how do you know? I told him that I listened to you. Now he found another way, and he found an application on the mobile phone. Now
Yeah.
he has his own mobile phone application where he can
Mhm.
find the meanings, and now he challenges me.
Yeah. So
He's
now he's
gonna be
quizzing you.
faster.
Yeah.
He's gonna be faster. Now I think my husband and me, we're going to be slower in adapting, because we're relatively old and we lived a lot of time in a certain type of life. Now we're going to have to adapt to another one.
So what are you thinking of doing in terms of languages in the house as well? If you guys are all already fluent in English, but also obviously, is it Jordanian? Are you fluent in your
Yeah, Arabic.
Jordanian? Arabic, sorry. Are you going to be speaking that at home? Are you going to be trying to speak English at home? A mix of both? Have you made any thoughts or plans about that?
Back home, we were bilingual,
Yeah.
both at home and outside. Most Jordanian people understand and speak English fluently. We didn't find any issue speaking English to anybody, but basically, Arabic is the main language of communication everywhere. In home, we speak Arabic fluently. We talk about all issues in Arabic, but sometimes we deviate to English. Depends on what comes to our mind
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
The same happened here. The same happened here. Even when we were shopping,
Hmm.
we talked to each other in Arabic, but once we started talking to anybody else, we switch immediately to English. This is our way of life. We switch between the two languages. Now, the funny thing, what happened with us when we were trying to pick new mobile phone numbers, we went into one of the shops, and the lady was trying to help my son, and she asked him to pick between three numbers. He turned to me and he said, Ma, what do you think? Which one is the best? He talked in Arabic. I replied in Arabic. She started working and I said, hey, wait, I want to. She said, it's okay. I'm Arab. I understand Arabic. Oh my God.
So is
We
that?
all burst in laugh.
I was going to say that leads me to asking you about cultural shock. Have you had any cultural shocks yet coming to Australia? Were there certain things that you thought would be the case that aren't the case, or vice versa? Were there certain races of people or languages around the place that you were very surprised to hear? Or, what's the experience been like so far for your first week?
I didn't know much about Melbourne, but I thought it was full of certain nationality, one nationality maybe or two, but I'm surprised it's a multicultural city, and you can find people from almost everywhere from
Yeah.
the world. You can tell by the color of their complexion, the color of their eyes, even the accent they speak to. Like yesterday, we went to do something and a lady was helping and she said, guys, where are you from? We replied, we're Jordanian. She said, I'm Turkish. But she did not look Turkish. She was a typical Uzi girl. But obviously she was born here. Maybe she lived here all her life. But she said she was Turkish. When you go into any shopping center, you hear many languages:
Yeah.
Indian, Chinese, Thai, Japanese. You even hear Arabic. I heard somebody spoke Arabic,
Yeah.
and I suddenly turned around. Hey, that's Arabic. But
So was that a surprise? Were you expecting that to be the case, or you had no idea it was going to be like that?
I had no idea it was that multicultural, but
Mhm.
it is, yeah. And it is supportive to you because you adapt easily.
Yeah.
You find the person who speaks English better than you, and you find the person who doesn't,
Yeah.
who barely speaks English. And that gives you kind of a trust in your abilities. You don't have to worry about how good you are in English, but you have to keep learning. You have to keep improving the way you communicate, because finally you're going to be out dealing with people,
Yeah.
dealing with people who have different type of language that you need to take care of.
And so how's it been interacting with Australians? Have you had many circumstances yet where you've had to have one-on-one conversations with Aussies? And have there
Yeah,
been
in the
any
bank.
issues in the bank?
In the bank. I fully understand Aussie English, but when they speak too fast, I just
Mhm.
lose it. The lady the lady in the bank was typing on her computer, updating my data, and I was just staring at the ceiling, looking at things that I don't remember. When she suddenly said something, and I went like, huh? I didn't expect her to speak, but she didn't repeat. She rephrased. That was
Yes.
the mistake. I wish she did not rephrase. She rephrased the question. I answered her, and she said, where are you from? I told her
Mhm.
I was Jordanian because my passport was not Australian
You're going to
anyway.
get that question a lot, I think.
Yeah. And she said, and she asked me, and she said to me, I'm impressed with your accent. And I told her, I've been practicing with Pete.
I hope you did. I hope you did. You should have given her my card, right?
I will.
I think you definitely come to Australia very, very, very well prepared. I think you're definitely ahead of the average person who ends up out here. But it's funny because I think once you'll probably have a good time in the city, but it's going to be good chatting to you the first time you guys go on a holiday or a road trip somewhere away from the city and have to interact with Aussies who are, say, living in a small town, have rarely met any foreigners. That'll be when you get to really test your skills.
Yeah, that is the situation I'm looking forward to.
So where are you wanting to go in Australia? Are there any places that you're really dying to see that you want to travel to?
Well, maybe Sydney is the first destination I'm looking forward to. I have relatives who live there. Maybe
Brilliant.
I'm going to plan for a quick visit next week. I'm not sure if we can do it because soon we're going to start schools. I don't want to wait for the next vacation.
Yeah.
Melbourne itself, it's still a mystery for me. I've been in one or two, maybe three suburbs so far
Hmm.
because we've been here since Tuesday night. That's
Yep.
it. Yeah, and we haven't been to many places. We need to. And once we get a car, maybe we're going to rent a car if we can afford it. We're going to take drives through. The thing is that I'm hesitating to drive, and my husband also, because it's not easy. We don't want
You
to
just
get in
need to get a
trouble.
chauffeur. Get a chauffeur and just be like, here, we'll pay you, drive us around, or get your son to get his L plates and get in the car and be like, here,
Maybe you
good.
can do it. Get the key and get in. Luckily, my children are going to start learning driving in the country's rules, not in our
Yes,
rules. They're
yes.
going
So
to
they hadn't
adapt
started.
easier.
They hadn't started back in Jordan.
No, because the younger is too young to start, and the older was too busy in his studies that he did not
Okay.
start.
Okay. And so can I ask you before we finish up, obviously you're Islamic from Jordan. What is it
Mm.
like coming to a country that is predominantly not Islamic? Are there certain things that you have to worry about or plan for or anything like that when you think about migrating to a country like this? Or has it been an effortless change and you're just like, whatever?
As I have told you before, I've been to many places around the world, and my hijab, the way I wear the scarf, or the way we behave, that hasn't been an obstacle for me anywhere.
Good.
I haven't even met any discrimination anywhere, luckily, in the world. But since we're living here for good, hopefully, we are going to, I thought we were going to have some issues with the food because we don't eat just any meat or any chicken. It has to be slaughtered in a certain Islamic way.
It has to
We
be
call it
halal, right?
halal, correct? Yeah. But my friend told me that don't worry, everything is here. Once you arrive, I'm going to take you to the shopping center, and so you're going to be surprised by the amount of Islamic food you can find.
It's
And
it's
I
everywhere.
found it everywhere.
Yeah.
Exactly, I found it
Yeah.
everywhere. There's a stamp halal
Hmm.
on every item you wish to find. And I found out that the immigrants who were here before, the Lebanese, the Iraqi, the Syrian people, and even the Palestinians have brought their culture here. They
Hmm.
brought the products here. I
Yep.
found things that I couldn't find in Jordan.
Really? Because
Yeah.
that's the funny
And
thing.
I
I've got a
sent
whole.
photos to my family. Look, I found this. Look, I found
Yeah.
that. They were surprised. Everything is here.
It's amazing, especially around
It
Melbourne. You
is.
might
It
have
is.
trouble if you move away, but around Melbourne with all those cultures there, there'll be certain hot spots. Like I think
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
Vietnamese.
it
There's a few
is.
Doncaster for the Persians. So
I
you'll
even
be.
found signs in Arabic, signs in Persian. It is a multicultural city that respects people as long as they obey the law. They do not do anything wrong. And I did not find any issue with the food. I'm happy with that. And even I took many walks. Yesterday we walked for an hour. The day before we walked for an hour and a half. Everyone in the street were friendly. They smiled to me. And the number of girls with hijab in Melbourne is relatively high.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, that was unexpected to me, but I find it also comforting to me that there
Comforting.
are
Yeah,
many
absolutely.
people, yeah, many people are like me here, and it's not going to be a trouble for me.
No, brilliant. Do you worry at all about raising your children, obviously Islamic, in a country that is predominantly not Islamic, or do you think, obviously, living in a city
It
like
is.
Melbourne, it'll be okay because Islam is all over the place, so it's not something you're gonna have to worry too much about.
I think this is going to be the case.
Yeah.
We've been here for less than a week. I'm going to have to wait a little when they are introduced into the schools, once they interact with the materials they take. I'm
Hmm.
going to have to watch it at home. They are not young to be worried about, but still they are not that old to be relaxing about.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to watch it, to direct them, to support them whenever needed. Islam is not that difficult, but it has its some critical rules that they have to take care of in certain locations. For example, we don't drink. We are not allowed to drink alcoholic drinks. I told them, once you go out with friends, if they give to you a beer or something, you just say, sorry, I don't drink. Go get yourself a soft drink, maybe soda or any juice. And they said, yeah, okay, we'll do that. People
Yeah.
drink in Jordan. Many Muslims drink all around the world. It's not
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
weird to see a Muslim who
Well, I
drinks,
think on
but
the
it
other side
depends
of
on
that
you.
too, there'll be a lot of Australians who don't drink too, so it won't
Yeah,
be
yeah,
that
yeah.
strange for
It's
most
not going to
people.
be that strange. Yeah, it
And I
is.
think too, if they just say, sorry, I'm Islamic, I can't, most people will be like, sorry, all right, too good, all right. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not going to push it.
I think Islam now is spread worldwide, and many people know about the Islamic rules. I remember once when I was in London, I went into an ice cream shop and I wanted to buy, I wanted to taste the flavors. The
Yeah.
lady who helped, she said, you can taste this one and this one, but not this one because it has alcohol.
Oh, so
She knew I was a
she did
Muslim
that just from
because the
looking
way
at
I
you.
dress. Yeah,
Yeah, of
yeah.
course. So she
That
already
was
knew.
helpful. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Oh, brilliant. Dua, well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I'm so looking forward to sort of checking in with you to see how things go and how things change. But I have a feeling it's going to be smooth sailing. I think it's going to be pretty easy for you. It doesn't sound like there'll be too many hiccups.
I hope that as far as I see it now, it's going to be easier than expected.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, hopefully we can catch up again in 3 months or so.
Yeah, sure, sure. Why not?
Awesome.
I'll be waiting.